And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Dog with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Hawk. Man, it's hot out there. I know temperature-wise, it doesn't represent the type of heat that we have outside, because I will tell you guys, it's one of those days where you just walk to your car and you're just drenched in sweat, and it is thick out there. But hey, you know what? We're in the studio. Happy to be here with my guy, Sleep Dog, and ready to put out a good episode.
But it's like 70 degrees outside.
I know, but it doesn't feel 70. I will tell you that.
It doesn't. It feels like 65.
No, it feels like 95.
Well, I can tell one of us is active and the other is not, because I hung some clothes out on the little laundry thing and set them on my deck today, and that's about the extent of my physical activity. Lot to get into, though. We're back. All right, guys, we've been, I think what we're going to do next year is we're going to pick a point in time where it just gets real ugly, and we're going to take that period of time off. So sorry for our inconsistency, but guys, I mean, what the hell are we supposed to talk about when there ain't nothing to talk about? But now there is, because football's back, okay? Carolina, 2-0 start, okay? Basically as good as Georgia right now. Both teams 2-0. Just put it on, Charlotte, I mean, what a win. Still a few seats available if you guys want to catch the next game. State just getting absolutely boat raced against Tennessee last night. That was good to see. It's Sunday as we're recording. Notre Dame. One of the first thing they'll tell you is that that's how you know somebody went to Notre Dame. That's how the saying goes. The first thing they tell you. All right. Well, I bet that ain't the first thing they tell you after losing to Northern Illinois as a top 5. That one hurt. So a lot of college football stuff we'll get into. Pick apart the Heels' start to the season and their outlook, and get in the NFL, man. I'm only in one fantasy league. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. I'm in a very blase fantasy league, and of course I'm off to a hot start this week. But yeah, a lot of interesting games. We got the Commanders. The Commanders are just commanding. Got it on behind me. Live here. Baker Mayfield looking like greatest show on turf. But that's easy to do against Washington. But anyway, Tar Heels, man. So we were it was Labor Day, so we did not labor in the Heels' first win against Minnesota on the road. By the way, Minnesota, I think, looked really good against Austin P or whoever they played. They won by a lot in their second game. We lost Max Johnson, broken femur. Oh God, it hurts just saying it out loud. I can only imagine how bad that hurts. Thoughts going out to him. He'll be back next year. He's done for the season. The funniest part of all of this, Big Hawk, is the prior episode. Is I kept talking about it was down to him and Jacoby Criswell. And I don't know why I had that in my mind. But Jacoby Criswell was Connor Harrell. So I spent the whole episode talking about it was those two guys. And then I texted Big Hawk after. I was like, hey, I got bad news, buddy. We just spent an hour talking about the wrong quarterback. Thanks to me.
Yeah, I knew it was. I wanted to let it roll. I didn't want to correct you right there on the spot. So
I thanks for not calling me out. Yeah. And anyway, so now we know. Now we all know. Your boy Connor Harrell, hey, he looks fine. So Heels are back in action. Omarion Hampton was, a little banged up, but apparently he's okay. And I don't know, man. Heels 2-0. Look, we said it all year last year. Just got to win the game in front of you. We played show. We don't exactly have, the hardest schedule in America. Maybe we've got the easiest one, but I don't know. How much of the game did you catch? What'd you think? How you feeling if you're a Tar Heel football fan right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. The only reason I say we're feeling pretty good is because we got these games lined up, and it doesn't really seem like I have heard of many of these schools. And listen, and that's not a knock. I mean, what the schedule is the schedule. We'll see where our strength of schedule is at the end of the year. But
that's right. Hey, you never know.
I mean, I like my guy Mac. I like what he does. I've met him a few times, and heck, man, once you meet Mack Brown, you walk away and like, man, I like that guy. I understand why he's a good recruiter. Great guy. Yeah. So I'm pulling for the football team. Obviously, I was in Keenan. I went to say hello to some of the 05 team, which got honored during the football game. But You know where I stand in football in general, Sleep. I don't have the knowledge, and I don't have the attention span. The games are too long for me. I don't know how anybody keeps up with it unless they have a family member playing. But I'm happy for the Hills, and I will say I thought we were playing Colorado for about half of the first quarter when they put the C up there. Then I realized it was Charlotte.
The pick looks, I wouldn't really associate that with Charlotte.
Yeah.
And the old gold rush in Charlotte.
And the other thing is, when I went to Keenan, I wanted to get like an in-person view, with my own eyes of the seats that everybody's been dogging a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they're worse in person. You know what? And I don't know why anybody would like. And listen, I hope the.
You talk about the scaffolding VIP. It looks like somebody's going to paint, fix the exterior of your house.
Yeah. It looks like a ladder. I don't know if they take a ladder to get up there or what, but I will say that is in
washing windows.
Yeah, they're getting drilled by the sun, and there's nowhere to hide. That was my first thought. I was like, man, and the steel, they can't be like. It's one of those things, Sleep, where I guarantee feels about 130 in there midway through the fourth quarter on about hour 4. So, God bless whoever bought those seats because they really wanted to enjoy the game. I'll be interested to know if they're going to be a repeat customer or not. I know I wouldn't, but that's my whole, those are my thoughts on the Carolina football game. I'm glad we won.
Mike Evans just catching another touchdown against the Commanders. RIP of their season, and they're 3/4 of the way through it. Of the first game. Yeah, it was. It's what you expect, right? We look fine on offense. Concern for me is defensively. As it has been for these teams. Charlotte had that kid, their quarterback, Max Brown, right? He wasn't setting the world on fire, but he was like a competent quarterback. And then he got hurt, and I think at about halftime, he didn't come back and play in the second half. And then, they still, were able to move the ball a decent amount. We only outscored them 17-14 in the second half. But holding 2 field goals. Look, you got to play the teams that are in front of you. I get that Charlotte, Charlotte's 0-2. God only knows who they lost to the first game. Not exactly, again, Ohio State. But, put points on the board. The thing of it is, to me, is less about, when you look at this score and you kind of watch the game, maybe you're not like overly impressed with it, but then you back up and watch what's happening across all of college football. Alabama let the school of, Croatan High School was playing them close into the fourth quarter. Notre Dame loses to Northern Illinois. There's a lot of, and I could probably go on to some other ones that I just can't think off the top of my head. There was a lot of no-name schools that were keeping it close with a lot of schools. That's just sort of, I think, again, I'm not saying that Charlotte, I'm not making excuses for Carolina. I'm just saying that in general, all of these games, many of these games were much closer than the pairings probably would suggest. So, at the end of the day, you got to be happy with, a win if you're Carolina, because there's a lot of games here that you should win. You win this game by 18, right? You move on. Next game's against Central. Game after that's against James Madison. Start the season if you can 4-0, and go from there. So that's kind of. I was actually thinking about it while I was watching the game. I was like, speaking of Mac, I was like, maybe this was the move. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, roster isn't quite. We don't have Drake May this year. We don't have Sam Howell. Roster maybe isn't quite as good. So why? Why would you go try to schedule, a game against LSU? Charlotte will do the trick. Minnesota will do the trick. Take an easy schedule. Try to get a good win under your belt. I wonder strategically, seriously, in all seriousness, in football, I wonder if that's ever part of it.
Well, Sleep, I will say I thought Florida State got punished last year for having a weak schedule. And I don't think the expectations for UNC football this year were to contend for a national championship. But I will say that college football looks like it is putting more of an emphasis on playing better non-conference schedules for teams that want to contend, like you saw Florida State last year. I'm not even sure if they went undefeated or whatever. They had the record, and a lot of people thought they should have gotten to the college football playoffs, but obviously they were left out. And I agree with the committee. I didn't think they had the schedule or the strength of schedule to get in, but they had a really good record. But when you talk about why wouldn't you, schedule some of these powerhouse football teams, I just think in college football you're punished so much for one loss. And right now, after losing Drake, and you have a lot of guys, quarterbacks that come to a new program, whatever, there's a lot of transfers. It takes some time to really, get the team rolling. And maybe Mac thought that, hey, we're going to have a lot of new guys. Drake's going to be gone. I think it would be good for our confidence, but also for us to find our momentum and, play some teams that aren't the LSUs or the big dogs and try to go into conference play and make the most of that. And I think that's a great thought. And also, let's talk about, it's still early on. There's a lot of season left, and maybe we look back and be like, man, these teams are actually pretty good. We have a much stronger strength of schedule than we originally thought. You never know. Minnesota could be a much better win here in 4 or 5 weeks than we originally thought in week 1. Once they start Big Ten, they could get some big wins in there. And there's some good teams in the Big Ten. So Minnesota is one of those teams that, you look back and you're like, man, that was a big one. But, that's my thought.
Rhode Island. Rhode Island was who they beat.
No, they're not going to. Yeah, that's nothing to brag about. But, they in the Big Ten, there's some big dogs in that.
Yeah, they got Iowa, conference. They got Michigan, they got USC. I mean, they got a lot of good teams they're going to be playing. And that I think was my point. And again, I don't know how far in advance, the Minnesota thing was set in stone a couple years ago, right? I mean, when you sign a home and home and some of that, but I just wonder if you're a realist, if I'm Mack Brown, and God knows, I'm not, but, do you sit there and are you a realist at some point and you say, I don't know what control they have year to year over the schedule, right? But I'm saying, hey, if you look at it, you say, there's no chance we're going to win the national championship this year. So, why not, lighten the load a little bit? Because who cares what the committee says, right? Because we're not worried about college football playoff. In all seriousness, man, that's not a knock. I mean, it's just we're not in that echelon this year, or at least we certainly don't expect to be. So, why not try to put a slate in front of you where you've got a chance in essentially every game you play? Right. And then maybe, I get that if you play, the big games help with recruiting. Well, the big games help with recruiting if you're the small fish in the big pond. Like if we go play LSU or Alabama or, whomever, it's not going to help us if we go get beat 51-10 like NC State did against Tennessee. That's not going to help us recruiting, I don't think. What it's going to do is going to show some guy that was about to come here, well, shit, I probably better go to Tennessee, So, I don't know. I have no idea if that's part of it, if there's that much control that can be levied over it. But I think that whether the chips just fell this way or someone planned it, I think it's a great situation for Carolina this year to have an easy schedule, at least theoretically, at least it looks that way, right? To maintain some confidence and some traction. I mean, if we go, I don't know, if we went 8-4 again, the fan base maybe isn't going to be all that excited. But if instead of playing Charlotte Central and James Madison, you're going to play, a couple Big Ten schools and maybe somebody else that's really good, and instead of 8-4, you go 6-6. It's going to be a different story. So I don't know. I think for Carolina fan this year, you just got to look at it and kind of enjoy the games a little more for what they are, because the schedule just absolutely stinks. Even the ACC play, you got Virginia, you got Georgia Tech, they're the bane of our existence, right? You got Florida State, they've been railroaded. So Florida State gets railroaded by, first of all, I never play a game overseas. If I'm Florida State, I'm never opening the season in a foreign country. I mean, that is just such a toss-up.
I agree. I just think it's one of the dumbest things they've done.
So then they lose to Georgia Tech, and then Georgia Tech comes back and loses. Florida State loses to whoever they played. I mean, Florida State's season's done. Georgia Tech is Georgia Tech. They're gonna beat the hell out of us, just because that's just the way God wants it. I'm convinced at this point. Anyway, I mean, I just feel like you got Florida State, you got NC State. Those are the big games on our schedule. You got Duke, of course, and those are the games you live for. And we're not gonna, I think our schedule is like almost meets our sort of expectation for the season. It's not that exciting, but it's football. We get to cheer for our team, and there's no game we're gonna go into and thinking like, yeah, we're gonna get absolutely smoked in this game. So, but one thing I did want to point out was I watched a lot of that NC State game, and I was telling Big Hawk before we got on here, I'm not a sports gambler. I'm really not. I will every now and then. I'll just like throw something on a game or play a little prize picks or DraftKings, like one of the the pick thing. But somehow I had it was $7.48 I had in my DraftKings account, and I was like, dude, I'm letting this shit ride. And I took Tennessee to cover, and I've just never been happier. Like, I don't know what it was about that $7.48 that made me so into that game. But now I have, whatever it is, $14 and something else. Jaden Daniels' second touchdown. I just was thrilled watching the game. Tennessee just absolutely obliterated NC State. Their quarterback's good.
For Tennessee or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sleep. I know that Tennessee dog walked them, but I mean, I know that if I were in your situation and I placed that bet on Tennessee to cover, NC State would have just mollywopped them. That's the way my luck is with gambling.
Well, if I had bet $10, that would have happened, but the $7.48 was a safe space. They honored the 05 team, which is a reminder at pregame, I think, or was it halftime at the football game?
First quarter. Yeah.
First quarter. That's 20 years, dude. That's scary. I know. Because old Sleep Dog was in school for that.
Yeah, man, it goes by so quick, and I was talking to somebody. I was like, man, I'm not even sure I'd want to have a 20-year anniversary. Nobody forgot they won the national championship, but and I will say it doesn't look like they aged a day. You look out there, you see the guys. That's being a little sarcastic there.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how many of those guys. I'm not even sure how many of those guys are still playing. But you know what? They're one of the all-time great teams. They surprised a lot of people. They won a national championship. Obviously, a lot of great players on that team, and they deserve to be honored. So,
Coach Williams' first title, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's the 05 team to me is one of those teams that means so much to Carolina because they had struggled so much before Coach Williams got there, and they weren't having success. Coach Williams gets there, and it was like giving, this is what Carolina. It reminded them, the fan base, what Carolina basketball was, and we are the top dog in college basketball. We are blue blood, and he said we will win, and we will win on a consistent basis. And he won a national championship in his second year. That is a heck of a way to come in. And, a lot of people, have a special place for that 05 team because it brought them a lot of joy after being, through a lot of dark times.
Yeah. It's a huge sigh of relief as a Carolina fan at that time, right? Like you're still on the heels of Coach Smith leaving, Coach Guthridge, like you said, the Doherty situation, and, you are sort of, it's just like we were in Hubert's really second year, right? You're kind of like, all right, there's a huge change in the guard here. What does this mean for us? Right. And, it's a huge sigh of relief when you win after, everything that you're used to sort of gets turned upside down. So, and it was a fun one for me because my first year in Chapel Hill was 04. So that was like, in 05 was my first spring. And, it's, man, I'll never forget it. Never remember it either at the same time. So we had a good time that night.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I didn't do so hot in those classes. So.
And Sleep, I will just say that, they did beat Illinois for the national championship in St. Louis, which is about 2.5 hours from St. Louis, Champaign, where University of Illinois is. And that was quite impressive. I was in the stands. I saw them win. And there was a lot of Illinois fans there. So
Yeah.
they didn't win under the easiest circumstances. And
Darren Williams was a hell of a player too.
Darren Williams, D. Brown, Luther Head. Illinois.
Had some good players.
Yeah,
Bruce
Illinois
Pearl was their coach, right?
I think so. Yes, you're right. And they had a heck of a year. And a lot of people, the 05 team, they were underdogs. They weren't favored to win it. Illinois was. They beat Michigan State in the Final Four prior. Tom Izzo, that's not an easy one. Coach Williams always had his number, which is one of those stats about Coach Williams. When you look at his record against certain coaches, you're like, man, he kind of dominated them. Yeah, he dominated Michigan State. It was, looking back, and then you look at like some of the players. I think Big May, I think that's the best basketball he's ever played. And I think he made a commitment to really get in shape, work on his body. And you saw how good he can be. I mean, he had some crazy games. He's
one of the best college basketball seasons of all time.
Yeah, and really soft hands. Like I've said, I played against him many a times. Great hands, great touch. His knock was, a little bit conditioning, but he put his mindset, during that season to really get in shape, and you could tell it paid off. So, he was one of those guys that I really admired. I saw him work hard, so it was good to see him and the team get honored. A lot of great guys, and went over there and chatted it up. Saw Wes Miller too. He was on the team, coaching at Cincinnati. Super competitive. We played together. One of my best friends. So it's good to see everybody, man. Sleep. I enjoyed.
I'm trying to remember what the final. I was trying to. Yeah, here it is. My quintessential memory of that season was my first big game that I got to go to as a student. They played Kentucky on CBS in December at like noon or 3:00 in the afternoon. And I got riser seats, which when you're a kid there was like the thing. Now I could never stand for that long. And they absolutely destroyed Kentucky. They were up 15 at half. I'm looking at the box score.
So hold on. Did they have Rondo? They had Clint Azubuike.
Those are the two that are like I remember. Let's see who else they had. Oh yeah, they had Raheem Morris, Randolph Morris. My bad.
Randolph Morris. He
Great
played
player.
in China. Yeah.
Chuck Hayes was a good player.
Yeah, played in the NBA. Yeah, I played with him.
Jamal Crawford, Joe Crawford. I saw Jay Crawford. I was like, I don't think Jamal Crawford went.
Jamal was in the NBA for like 25 years.
Dude, that guy was great player. Anyway, they were a great team. A lot of these names, I guess, I really don't remember. But yeah, Rondo had an awful game. Like Azubuike had 24. No other starter had double digits.
Yeah, I remember Clint Azubuike when he was at Kentucky. He was a super athletic dude. And Rondo was good at Kentucky, but I think he really excelled in the NBA. I think the
he
system
wasn't Rondo,
in the NBA.
Rondo.
Yeah, I think everyone gets a little confused. He was good at Kentucky, but he wasn't the Boston Celtics Rondo that a lot of people associate him with.
Dude, I know a lot of people. Sean May, 14 points, 19 boards.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, the guy's.
Felton only had 3 points, 5 turnovers.
He didn't need it.
7 assists, 19 for Jawad. Always loved Jawad.
Yeah. He's a big X factor.
Marvin Williams had 5 points. It was crazy how little Marvin Williams played some of that season. And then me and Big Hawk were talking about this before. Say what you want about Rashad McCants, but that dude had 28. I just remember him being just lethal. He was a fearless dude.
Yeah, man, that dude was
better for worse.
Yeah, when he showed up and put his mind to it, I mean, he was a bucket.
Dude, 28. I remember, man. He just went off that game. Anyway, so great to remember those guys. At the time, that was number 9 versus number 8, and Carolina had already lost once, which was the first game of the season that year. That's probably why they were number 9. Anyway, we'll be talking more about them as the season goes on, I'm sure. We talked about NC State getting crushed. Let's move to the NFL. Week 1 of the NFL. Are you playing any fantasy football, Big Hawk?
I am. I am in a fantasy league and very passionate fantasy league members. There's a group chat that's about 1 million texts every day. I have made a commitment not to check one of them. I won't do it. It's not that serious. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to have to remind some people that, hey, we're not actually GMing an actual NFL team. Like, it's not that serious. But you know what? The motivation comes from how serious these guys take it. That's why I'm motivated to beat them. But I'm in one, Sleep, and you know how it is, man. They can really push your limits in those things.
Oh, yeah. It test the limits of a friendship. I'm in one. Let's see if I'm just absolutely slaughtering the guy I'm playing, and currently projected. This team's got nobody had the Bears defense in the starting lineup, it looks like. There's a couple teams that look like they might outscore me, but feeling good about it. Jaden Reed was my pick of the draft. I have J.K. Dobbins and Raheem Shaheed on the bench. My guy, Dallas's kicker. All right. The reach for him. My man's got 21. 4 for 4, 3 extra points. Cleveland is a dumpster. CJ Stroud. I got McCaffrey again, dude. Had McCaffrey last year. Won the title.
Cheat code. You know, I got Sleep that's just Marvin Harrison Jr. He was my first pick in the first round. I didn't have the first overall pick, guys. I'm not that dumb. But I took him in the first round, and the guy put up 0.9 points today. Yeah, so
what did you pick him in the first round for?
Man, he was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick. Like,
no, not in fantasy football.
So, hey, so let me say something. This is a keeper league, so a lot of the players weren't available.
Right. Okay.
And by the way, I missed the timeline to declare a keeper in my fantasy league, and they don't do it through the app. You got to get on a Google Doc and fill out your keeper, which I've never done that because they didn't give me a keeper on the first year, and they put me in the second to last pick just randomly.
Keep your money,
and you can't do it through the app. It's an unorthodox keeper system. I voiced my opinion to the commissioner, and it would have made zero difference. He texted me, "Why didn't you, reach out?" Well, hey, buddy, because I've never kept a keeper, and this is my second year. I didn't know we had to go through.
I was trying. I lost the league office's phone number.
And it would have been no impact on anybody in the league. If I would have just been like, hey, here's my keeper the next morning. But you know what? I lost. I didn't get a keeper. So,
well, and that does change things, right? It does make otherwise absurd looking picks less absurd how many keepers does everybody get? 1?
I don't know. It sounds like there's a plethora. I think 2 keepers per team.
I
didn't have a lot of good options out there.
That's crazy talking a football league.
Yeah. And
it's tough because that means if you've got what, 10 teams? You've got 12. That means 25. So 2.5 rounds of people are gone. So anyway, it makes more sense. But yeah, I don't know. That's a reach there, Chief. Anyway, a lot of let me go through the scoreboard here. Dude, the one game that I've been dying to talk about was I watched. I got Sunday Ticket. I bought it last year, and then I forgot I bought it, and they just automatically hit me with about 400,
a lot of things,
400 buckaroos about 2 months ago. I was like, you could have waited till the season started. I'm not going to watch the preseason. You guys can give me a coupon on that. Let's see, where's the NFL at, dude? I was pissed. I was like, man, you charged me this is like freaking July. You charged me like $400 NFL Sunday Ticket. The one game I watched pretty
season ticket holder for that.
No joke, dude. Was the Bears game because I was like, dude, I think Caleb Williams is trash. Okay, I'd have picked Drake May all day long. They won that game. Okay, where the hell's the Bears won that game and did not have 150 yards offense. I'm gonna pull this up.
I didn't watch it. I'll tell you this: I ain't pulling for the Bears.
They beat the Titans. This is Caleb Williams' stat line. 14 of 29 for 93 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 22.3 QBR, and a 55.7 rating.
Scared to pass it.
Yuck. It was not, but the Bears defense went absolutely bonkers. 2 TDs. Well, they had a run back for a touchdown. 1, 2, and had a pick 6 and a block kick. I mean, like, whoever had their defense, anybody that had their defense is winning their league this week, and probably had 40 points. So, it was some crazy stat too. Like, he's the first quarterback since, like, I don't know, a long time, first rookie quarterback to win their first game.
Who'd they play?
Titans. Ugh, at home.
Yeah, ain't nothing to brag about.
Yeah, ain't nothing to write home about. About like the Tar Heel schedule. But the craziest thing, of course, we probably should have started the whole podcast, was this Tyreek Hill situation. Mm-hmm. So this is some Scotty Scheffler vibes. They arrested him or detained him. He didn't miss the game. By the way, 130 yards, touchdown. Like,
they put him in handcuffs too. Slammed him on the concrete.
Yeah, Calais Campbell, one of his teammates, pulled up and they put him in handcuffs. Then Tyreek Hill goes for an 80-yard bomb, and his celebration is he puts his hands behind his back. The teammate comes and cuffs him, dude. I
love it. And here's the other thing, Sleep, is apparently they're arresting or whatever the officers on administrative leave, I think, already.
Yeah.
I saw that on the internet. I never know if it's a joke or not, but what's going on. But I don't know, Sleep. I respect all law enforcement. It's not an easy job. They do a lot of good. So I don't want to paint them paint them in a bad light, because, they've been painted in a bad light, in my opinion, in a lot of ways.
Sure.
But, it's not a good look. But also, I was expecting Tyreek Hill. I said, if he has a career day and goes off, I'm a fan. Like, I'm going to be pulling for this guy. And the fact that his touchdown celebration was of him getting arrested, and
I mean, people getting arrested,
funny,
stars
man.
getting arrested is really working out well for them this year. I mean, look at Scotty Scheffler on $56 million or some shit this year.
Sleep, I will say, can you imagine driving to the arena? You got your music blaring, like you're trying to get your mind right, and getting there, going through all that and walking into the locker room, dapping your boys
you're
up.
Gonna believe what happened,
guys. I just got I almost got thrown in the slammer, guys. I mean, let me catch my breath here. But I can't imagine how difficult that was getting ready for the game today.
So I've got a couple of thoughts about this. Okay, I don't know if you saw the video, right? So allegedly he was like speeding, maybe I even read that reckless driving. Okay, mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of car he was driving. All I know is it was looked like it was about $400,000. I mean, doors are up, So listen, I wasn't there. I don't know the first thing about what I'm talking about, but I would not be surprised if he was, maybe exceeding the speed limit. They said there was a verbal altercation. The thing that I thought was great, because Tyreek Hill is kind of like a firecracker, right? I could see why maybe, people, he's a, dude, this guy's like one of the best players in the NFL. He's got a, ego and all these things that come along with being a young, like, superstar in Miami and all this. I could totally see, and it's not, nothing to do with it. I could just see if he was like, man, you know who I am? And by the way, okay, kind of like, look, I believe I'm with you 100%. My grandfather was a cop for 31 years. Like, some of my friends and close people to me, like, I'm all for the cops. There's no, I don't even know, whatever. You get it. But like, you're a cop outside of the football field, and some dude comes driving by in like a Lambo. I mean, hello, maybe registers like, all right, this guy might be a football player on his way to the game. In Miami, a lot of people drive shit like that down there, but at least you're kind of thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
By all accounts, he said all the right things. Hey, I'm a big fan. The thing that made me laugh was Drew Rosenhaus was giving an interview, his agent, to some dude at ESPN. And Drew Rosenhaus said that Tyreek Hill said he wanted to be a police officer someday. That just struck me as like some shit I would say if I was lying about something in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to be a police officer someday. Anyway, point being is, it seems like he said and did all the right things. And this is one that, I mean, go ahead and set the alerts for TMZ, because they're going to have the body cam footage. If they don't have it already, I mean, it's coming. It's imminent.
Yeah.
And as soon as they get it, I can't wait to see it, because this does just sort of reek of like, dude, I don't understand if he was speeding or reckless driving even. Maybe this dude's doing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Was that what he was doing?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think he was speeding, and I think I read maybe they said that he was driving recklessly, which would suggest that he was really speeding. And he's driving a car that is extremely capable of really speeding. Why is this dude laying on the ground getting handcuffed? You know what I mean? That's the thing to me that just like, unless you tell me that he was trying to fight you, right? In which case, hey, listen, like it or not, that probably gives somebody the right to sort of like, I don't know, man, like, what's it called? Like, restrain you, you know? But like, why is this dude laying on the ground getting handcuffed by 4 cops for speeding? I mean, it just blows my mind.
Well, Sleep, I'm not defending anybody. I know we're not.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what happened.
And here's my thoughts on this, because I've had teammates that get these really nice cars and, these expensive things. And I always tell anybody that does this, I was like, those cars, they're built for performance. And those are the type of cars that if you are reckless and you do speed and you go those 100 mile an hour, whatever, you're putting your life at risk and you're putting other people's lives at risk. And I'm not saying this is at all what Tyreek was doing, or I have no idea what was going on. I'm just in general making this statement why I don't like a lot of these high-powered performance cars is because you have people driving them at absurd, speeds that if they were in any type of accident, they're putting themselves and other people on the road and bystanders in, immense amount of danger. And those are the type of cars that will definitely, if you're not careful, they'll take your life if you are reckless with them. And, that's my only knock on some of these cars. I mean, he's worked hard. He deserves to have, whatever car he wants to drive. But, if you're going to drive one of those cars and, I hope he wasn't speeding like that, because the cop, he's paid to enforce the law. And if he's speeding, he had every right to pull him over. I'm not sure if slamming him on the ground and putting him in handcuffs is a protocol, or if he, got kind of an ego and, they went at it and he wanted to show him up. I don't know. But that's all I'm saying about that, Sleep.
But I've seen 6 Nissan Altimas driving 100 miles an hour on my way to the grocery store. So I'm with you 100%. But it does seem like, you got a car like that, you're young, you got a lot going for you, be careful. Because to your point, I think, is those cars are a different level, right? Like they have the ability, they're more powerful than people realize. Like,
and
you gun a Dodge Charger, like you're not going to lose control of it. You gun a Murcielago, like you might lose the tail end of that sumbitch and flip that sucker over 3 or 4 times. Like things are fast.
They call the 911 turbo, I think, the Widowmaker, and it's basically a high performance engine in a go-kart. And I love the 911 turbo. I've test driven one, and it's absurd. Unfortunately, I'm way too big to fit in one. And I told the salesperson, I said, listen, if I could fit in this thing, I wouldn't be able to afford it. So, I
told him the exact opposite. Man, I fit great in this thing. I can't afford it.
But, man, I just drive a truck and I like it.
That's right. Anyway, man, hopefully it all shakes out. It seems like, he handled it correctly. And also, man, like the same thing goes to say, I feel like this is at least how I feel about it, is like, look, man, I think probably everybody understands the whole police thing, right? Like it's a tough, not every cop is an asshole. You understand why they're doing what they're doing, and that there's, and also that some guys maybe react in certain situations in ways that if they had more time maybe to process things or whatever, they're human beings, right? Yeah. I'm not saying this dude's a bad guy or he did anything wrong, because we have no idea.
Yep.
But I hope that it's just, and even Tyreek Hill said this. He said, I hope that we can all use this as a way to like use the platform, address and turn it into something positive. And I thought that was an absolutely great way to handle it. Scotty Scheffler kind of handled it that way. I hope Tyreek Hill continues to handle it that way. And I hope it just doesn't become a thing, because it's week 1 of the NFL. I've been waiting I've been watching, archery and shit for 2 months waiting on something fun to watch from a sports standpoint. I'm sick of drama, dude. So it'd be nice if we can just focus on football. Other scores, we'll get to those. We'll get out of here. Cowboys look like they're just going. We have 29 seconds left. They're going to beat Dak Prescott, richest player, highest paid player in history in NFL football. Unbelievable to me. But they're 1-0. Deshaun Watson definitely not looking like a good use of money. They just won 33-17. Patriots not starting a guy Drake May, but I'm glad because they said he's not ready or they're not going to rush him into it. I read an article about that. 16-10, they beat the Bengals. Not a good look for the Bengals. Texans 29, Colts 27. That was a good game. Seahawks, Broncos. Seahawks 26, Broncos 20. I took my $7.68 winnings, $14 and some change. Try to flip that into a 2-team parlay, one of which was a lead pipe lock, the other of which was that game. So I lost that. Chargers 22-10 over the Raiders. Steelers snooze-a-thon 18-10 over the Falcons. What else haven't we covered here? Buccaneers 37, Commanders 20, Bears 24, Titans 17, Dolphins 20, Jags 17, Saints, that was the other one. Dude, the Panthers are terrible. Saints 47, Panthers 10. Yuck. Vikings 28, Giants 6. So much for Hard Knocks. Chiefs 27, Ravens 20 on Thursday, Eagles 34, Packers 29, Jordan Love hurt. That was Friday. Is there a Sunday night game? Probably not with – oh, yeah. Is there a Sunday? Oh, yeah. Rams-Lions tonight. And then Jets-Niners tomorrow. Aaron Rodgers is back. So let's end the show. Big Hawk, I know who you're picking tonight. So by the time this comes out, this game will have already happened. But Lions-Rams, who you got?
I'm going Rams. You know.
What about Lions coach? What's his name?
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell, your favorite guy?
Crying Dan. Man, I bet he sheds a tear just walking out on the field. Just so emotionally, so happy it's here. Man, interview the guy. Get him some waterworks going.
Crying Campbell.
It's a blue-collar guy.
Yeah. Grit. What about tomorrow? Jets, Niners.
I'm going Jets. Aaron Rodgers back. A-Rod. Let's go.
Jets are Niners are at home. I'll take the Niners and I'll take the Lions. Just go and then we'll forget who we picked by the time we do this again next week. But I don't know, man. And oh, by the way, before we get out of here, Chiefs, Ravens. I think the Ravens look really good Thursday night. I mean, it's a kind of weird thing, like kind of game somebody had to lose. I think you got to be happy if you're a Ravens fan. And we were sitting there thinking, man, could you imagine what Jimmy's Seafood looked like on Thursday night? NFL football's back, just crab cakes just flying off the shelves. Yeah. And, I mean, you got Tez Walker down there.
Special place.
Free Tez, you know. Free shipping, pretty sure, on crab cake, so you should get some. Anyway, Jimmy's always takes care of us, and we appreciate it, and, check him out. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.